to the cloud. Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 9th community call. So today we will be talking about AI department strategy and governance. And our guest is Alex. So first of all, if you would like to share something or ask anything, or and you will think that you're oversharing something, reach out to us. We will cut that out of the video because we are being recorded right now. So please pay attention to that. So this is the preliminary schedule of our today's community call. So we'll see whether we'd like to stretch the first part a bit longer, but we'll see how that goes. By the way, I'm unable to invite people into the conversation while I'm presenting my screen. So 1 second, I'll finish with that. So yeah, probably this will be our schedule for today.
Max, and there is Ivan Fisher who is asking you to join in.
Yeah, awesome. 1 second, I'll how to do that? Zoom is not allowing me. So 1 second. Yep. I'll proceed from where I started. Hello, Ivan. Nice to see you. Yep, let me get back to the screen sharing. 1 second. Yep. So our today's guest, Alex. So he's the director of AI engineering and the founding partner at Neurons Lab, extremely successful company that I'm paying a lot attention to since its inception. So extremely happy to see how far you went with that small venture and how big it is right now. So that's extremely impressive. 10 plus years building AI solutions and knows 7 languages according to his LinkedIn. Please tell us, Alex, what are those languages?
I think it's not fair to say now studied and spoke every of those 7 languages. But yeah, I was studying in the school with English, German, and French. So back in time, I had really decent level in all of them. Ukrainian, Russian, and Italian, Spanish that I still use in practice almost every day. So those are the 7.
Yeah, that's when I've seen that, I can't say that I've been extremely impressed because I know what you're capable of, but still like those languages look like a great achievement besides all the stuff that you've already done. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump to the AI department strategy and governance. So I'll stop sharing right now, and yeah, welcome, Alex. Do you have anything to say about that up front before I'll jump to the questions that I have?
I have prepared a couple of things. So also maybe let's align a bit how do we structure this discussion, etc. So Max, we were just chatting a couple of days ago. So I have no slides, but I have a couple of bullet points I would like to share maybe before we go into the questions, because actually I saw the questions, I prepared answers to the questions, but also would like to share something like upfront. So if you don't mind, I can maybe kick off with that immediately.
Yeah, that would be perfect. So yeah, talking about the format of this call, those calls are extremely informal. So we are casually chatting and trying to get some insights out of our conversation. So there is no dedicated format or anything that can limit us in what we'd like to discuss. So the general idea is to stay in the inside of the topic that we've announced, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, since you've got a lot of things to share, I would be eager to know that how you're doing that, and that's pretty much it. So yeah.
Then I think I would like to start with also my opinion, judgment, who actually needs the kind of AI, data science, machine learning department and strategy, because I think not every company needs it. And I would say that if you work in a startup and you have a development team and everyone works together, I don't think you need a dedicated AI strategy department, governance, etc. But I think 3 types of companies who definitely need it First one is consulting and service companies, obviously, because your core capabilities. So you have different clients, different projects, different teams. So you need to have some kind of system around that. So that's number one. Second is a product company that has many different AI applications. I think a good example can be startup company of a size like Glova, or if you know Glova or something like this. So a relatively maybe hundreds of millions valued startup or maybe unicorn that already has several machine learning applications, because what Glova has, they have recommender systems, they have the tracking, they have the routing on the map, they have the personalized marketing. So a lot of different AI-driven stuff, and hence you have different teams. One team working on that, and that, and that, and that. So you need to have some standards, some leaderships, unify the work, the strategy. So again, this is the second example when I think you need such a department and governance. And third example is a bit more about like mid-size and large enterprises that can focus more on enhancement of their either internal processes or services. I can think about you can think whatever example, Coca-Cola or Big Bang or something like this. Again, you maybe not necessarily have AI as a service for your end customer, but have a lot of internal processes, whatever this communication, documentation, any kind of digital stuff, and you want to optimize those many different internal processes. And again, I think this is the case when you need a formal AI data science department with the governance, etc., etc. So that's why if you have like a startup with 20 people, 15 of them are developers, and you have like 3 data scientists, I think it's not really worth it to have a formal data science governance, because it's more like a part of the product team still. But again, this is my judgment, and I might be also wrong, and I'm open for a discussion.
Okay, yeah, that pretty much makes sense. And you mentioned that like Coca-Cola probably has like data science department in their company. So I wonder at what point, I do know that you honestly, I don't know, I guess, how you've obtained your clients, but at what point from your experience the company decides that, okay, so at this, we need to have our data science department and figure out some solutions? So for example, as a senior executive, at what point in time can I get to the feeling that, okay, so I need to have the data science department in my company, for example?
I think it should come at the moment when you already have a data science team, internal and external. They already are driven some results, and you see that it's growing and it's scaling, and you as an executive cannot manage it by yourself. So example, like you're a CTO or VP of engineering in a firm, and you maybe have some tech lead or team lead working with your engineering team, 10 people, let's say. And let's say you hire one or 2 data scientists. Most probably they still can work in the same structure. But let's say you have 2 data scientists working on one product, or let's say feature, 2 data scientists working on another feature, another 2 on the third one. So you see it's already branching coming in, and you need to standardize it, check the work. And I think there is a moment where a single executive sees that there are 2 separate streams, and you need to find a head of data, head of AI, head of machine learning, who can manage those streams. And then you have let's say head of product. And I think most probably it'll be VP of engineering, CTO, and chief AI officers, something like this. But again, I would do it as late as possible. So it's so you don't introduce additional level of complexity and bureaucracy when it might be not needed.
Yeah, that makes sense. So one of the questions that I've had was, by the way, let me open them up.
Let me just add one more point. I also see how we work with our clients. Typically, they already have a CTO and a development team, and let's say they need us to help develop one feature, and we can easily work together with them. It's like a CTO, if he or she is can manage technical flow and work, they can easily take one more team and work together. It's really not an issue. So that's why make a conclusion that when you have a one small data science team, there's a couple of people, you don't really need additional leadership and governance.
Yeah, that was one of the points that I wanted to talk through, because usually data science department is treated as a separate entity, but it's probably a subset of an engineering team. And like, for example, several of my friends are working on somewhat data scientist projects, but they are a part of a bigger team that's developing basically an enterprise piece of the software. So their part of the job is basically integrate some small AI solution into that huge enterprise system that is working like for some big company, for example, and that's it. So they by no means have any managers that are talking them what to do and etc. They simply have the same KPIs that the regular .NET developer has, and that's it. And even if there are multiple of those data scientists in the team, they are still not treated as a separate entity. So probably, yeah, that makes sense. Up at least a point in time when you decide to branch your AI product into a separate product, and yeah, at that point, I guess that would make sense. By the way, how different is the management process between like usual software engineers and the data scientists? Is there any difference? Because I think the scope of the tasks is like much bigger in the data science area.
I think because at least in our company we have like different departments, like engineering department and delivery department. So everything like project management related is in the delivery department in our company, and we have like director of delivery managing. So basically, like I'm director of AI engineering, so I kind of manage the whole the engineering vertical, meaning like cloud engineering, ML engineering, and maybe the DevOps part of this kind of things. And then there is the project management and product management. Because I have capabilities of working with the tasks flow, budgeting, backlog, etc., etc. Because at least in our experience, and actually we see that's how many other technology consulting company work, they separate it. Understand? In a startup, typically you have like a CTO who does both project management and technology management. But in consulting businesses, it's a bit different. It's like you clearly separate the jobs because you kind of, it's like a common practice. So if you talk about managing backlog and a lot of tasks, I think the main difference is complexity of estimations. And even like you collect the data, you have like historical data with the epics and tasks, and you have these t-shirt estimations. We still, I mean, I would say we have on average sprint estimation like over 80%, but we had to go to this for 4.5 years. So actually, it is still hard for us to really, have a predictable sprint estimations and really follow the plan. I think like 80% is so far the best we can do. We're trying to improve it, but it was hard. We started with like we could be completely off. So I would say this estimations and risk management is the hardest and the main difference.
Yeah, like probably 80% is good enough, I'd say, because like in some of the teams that I've seen, the sprint results, like they are somewhat around 50% usually. So because like I guess it depends on the size of the team, obviously on the domain that the team is operating in and etc. But like in the usual development, you've got when you've got an established product portfolio, a ton of different change requests are dropping into your pipeline mid-sprint. And when you're like trying to do some work, you're constantly get overwhelmed with like critical bug reports or like some investigations that need to be conducted. So usually like regular development, I'd say it's like a massive thing to predict. So in that case, 80% is pretty good. So yeah, since you're working directly with the clients and they'd like to have those hard estimations, probably you would like to get like higher than 80%. Yeah. But yeah,
there is also like a difference, and this is like interesting, like difference between like when you work directly like on one product, on one company, when working consulting, there's like also different kind of agency, I would say. So when you work like within a team on a single product, yeah, there's like a lot of backlog changes within a sprint, and there are priorities changing. And in a way, you can sacrifice priorities, right? You can just sacrifice, just jump into something, etc. But when you have like a formal contract between a company and a company, there are some service level agreement and need to correspond to some standards. And you might take less risk as a company because you're incentivized to do a good job within the standards. right? And sometimes it's like if I would work in a startup, would be like, fuck that, I'm gonna do this. But if I work in the consulting B2B agreement, okay, we have some standards, contract points. This is what actually I agreed to do. So this is like differences in the business.
Yeah, and that's not the case to promise something and under deliver, because you'll get like a huge fines, I guess.
Exactly. We better under promise and over deliver, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the case, and then probably you will get much more positive reviews than
Exactly.
in other cases. So yeah, that's that makes sense, honestly. So yeah, as you mentioned, you've got like mostly the data science-ish part of your team, and the product management is a separate entity. And do you have like the delivery team? So do you have like regular software engineers that incorporate your algorithms into some like small UI that you can present to your customers, for example, or like you're just outsourcing that to some other team, for example?
We as a company, we focus exactly on building AI models and algorithms. So in fact, we don't have anything like a full stack developer, front-end developer, back-end developer. We have guys who you could consider like a cloud engineer or ML ops engineer. Those are the people who can set up cloud infrastructure to move our, in the worst case, Jupyter's notebook into something no more scalable, into SageMaker, something like this, and then help it to run and scale. But yeah, we don't do front end. We don't do like back end. Okay, simple API doesn't count. Some endpoint, of course, we need to provide. But typically, we expect that our client is already, let's say, has like an engineering team that has a digital product, and we can provide the infrastructure and endpoints to connect AI capabilities with some specific requirements to the product. So we expect like front end, back end is done by the client, or if it's a really small company and it's like starting from zero, we say, look, guys, we can recommend you another company, we can recommend you a team, but we don't do that.
Okay, so your clients are like at least knowledgeable of what they'd like to have. So like this is not something that like Coca-Cola executive comes to you and says like, hey guys, can you please do an audit on our business and figure out whether any ML algorithms are applicable to our business?
This is different because this is something what we can do. We basically have two services. One service is something we call AI Zero Sprint, AI Design Sprint, and actually come and like request, like you mentioned, there is a company, they don't really know analysis paralysis, and we help them to prioritize the cases, to find some competitions, references, papers. So you can say, look, guys, with your data, with your situations, your competition, those are prioritized cases that you can use, and we can help you with, let's say, with the top three. And the second service is actually engineering. Can be based on the case, we train the models, build infrastructure, deploy it, and there are some scaling requirements, latency, etc.
Yeah, that's cool. So basically, like you're building kind of a logic, like a backend that will be consumed by the engineering team within the company that's like asking you to do that stuff. And do you know, like, okay, so for example, you've implemented that piece of the product, and like you've created some sort of an API, and after that, when your work is considered done, so do you have any support for that system, or like you're giving it as is to your client and saying like, okay guys, so this is your now and you can manage that and do whatever you want? So how does it work?
There is ideal vision that I have for our engineering department. We can like build a machine that customer can support completely by themselves, but unfortunately, it's not a reality yet. So typically, especially in the stage when something is already running in production, we have some pieces of like dashboard, performance monitoring, but we're not at the stage yet where customer has some environment where they can, just upload new data in the bucket, automatically retrain the model, then it's automatically updated, A/B tests run, they choose a model. So this part of work is still can be done like by one data scientist part-time. So this is the support that we can provide. But as some kind of vision, I would like us to have some accelerator, maybe pieces of the platform that can automate that as well, because support is actually not interesting work that you want to do. You want to create things from scratch. So, and in machine learning, I think this can be pretty much automated and we can teach the client how to do it, but we're not there yet. We still need to learn and build it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. And from the director of the department, like how often do you need to pick between implement some new features for the old client, or implement a new product or find a new client? So how do you work with the established clients versus searching for the new ones? What's the process there?
Typically, with the existing clients, when we deliver something, typically against a model, some kind of infrastructure up and running, very often this is where we stop at least for a while, because there is a solution running, some A/B tests, and typically they want to kind of step away and play with it to see how they deal with it, and we can have like a break for a couple of months or something like this. And sometimes it's just okay. For example, just like a model, like imagine something like chatbot related or OCR related. It's just working okay, and that's enough for them. It already speeds up something, or it frees time of some specialists, and they can estimate the right. This is enough. But and this is with the smaller companies, we just stop and that's it. So with bigger accounts, let's say maybe in 3 months and half a year, they're like, okay, this is good, but here's our basically bug report, and this is what our customers not happy with. How can you improve it? Or for example, okay, this is cool, but we would like to have a new feature. So some business is coming from the existing clients, especially if the case was successful. Sometimes we don't have successful cases. But of course, we also have lead generation, business development pipeline when we have some blogs, we speak at some events, we have some cold outreach activities, we do some even personal networking thing to get clients. So obviously there's a lot of things going on generating new business, but of course we doing our best to have the best service to existing clients, and then to stay in touch to be able to help and support and potentially get new business from existing clients as well. So it's both.
Yeah, got it. Why am I asking in the first place? Because usually probably it's not the case in your situation, with your business, but a lot of my friends who are doing consulting business, they are establishing some kind of solution, and then the business is always getting back to us for some features, bug fixes, etc., etc. So they do have the backlog for anything that they've done in the past always full. So they are picking whether they'd like to go with the old client, because if they've made a good thing and the client is using it a lot, almost always they do have this full backlog of the change requests that are coming from the client every time. And they are trying to figure out what they'd like to do, whether they'd like to onboard a new client and increase the revenue, increase the number of their products in their portfolio, figure out something new from scratch to keep their skills sharpened, or they will go with several old clients that they are working with for years and they feel absolutely comfortable with. They know each other. They are going for a coffee every several months, etc. And it's a constant struggle for some of them to figure out whether they'd like to pick a new product or just get some money from an old client and fulfill their needs, for example. So yeah, that's.
I can tell you what's the difference, because in more traditional software engineering, for example, there is whatever kind of bug report, you typically need the engineer to implement the functionality. In our case, we give client everything: data pipeline, feature extraction, model retraining, deployment script, etc., etc. So teach the client how to do it, right? So when they say okay, the model is working not correctly, and if you do our work well, we give them everything, and then start. So guys, it's if your model fails on this kind of documents, what do you need to do? You need to label more of such documents, put it into the bucket, run the script, deploy, check the accuracy. So if you do our work well and the client they accept our work, they can do it themselves, and this is a fair point. So, but also there are a bit bigger companies that work a bit more traditionally. For example, right now we're signing one e-commerce actually from Eastern Europe, and they're guys, it's we need some support agreement. So we know that they're not going to retrain the models themselves. So we're okay, we'll figure out something out. But if it's a smaller company, they teach us how to do everything, and of course we do that.
Yeah, that's Like that's a cool observation. So basically, to boil that down, the bigger company will less likely to handle something. Yeah, that's an interesting insight, because I've been thinking that the bigger company gets, the easier for them is to allocate resources, but I guess the bureaucracy is what plays a role there. So
Exactly. That's why they found a partner they're happy with. For them, it's like, the bigger the company, the more there are like risk minimization policies. So working with established partner who shows, kind of like close to zero risk, is a safe policy, even if you overpay for that. So they just put it in the budget, and that's it. It's like safe policy. And also, let's say, working with a company compared to working as a person. With the company have B2B contract, you can sue a company, but with the single person, what you're gonna do, you can just hire and that's it. But with the company, there's much more at stake. And this is, I think, another reason why bigger companies like to work with the companies. More at stake, you can sue the company. So,
yeah, honestly, I haven't been thinking about that from that standpoint. But yeah, if the work wasn't
no, but it's like,
done well,
if like a data scientist got a bad job, what you cannot sue the guy, right? You could just fire the person. But if you work as a company, you can sue the company. You can get to the contract, pinpoint some agreement point, etc., etc. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's not the case for like Ukrainian kind of employment, when everyone is like a private entrepreneur, and like you can sue anyone you'd like. So yeah, for the context, if you're watching the recording in Ukraine, for example, people are usually working in Ukrainian companies, like big IT companies, as a private entrepreneur. So basically, it boils down to an office that has like a couple thousand people that are like legally private entrepreneurs, and they are like working using this kind of approach. So they're like not officially employed, but kind of contractors. So like I can't say why that has been done, but this is like the current state of things. So everyone's fine with that. And yeah, actually, that private entrepreneur is like this person can be sued because they are usually working on a contract basis. So like you technically have an employee in your company, but if you'd like, as a company, you can sue your employee on a contract basis, and that's probably, like, I have not heard about any cases of that, so I don't think anything like that ever existed in the history of Ukrainian IT. But yeah, that's the small thing to keep in mind. So yeah, so yeah, getting back to the conversation. So you've mentioned that in some cases the model might fail, and the people from the company that you've done it for, they need to run some scripts, redeploy it, and etc. So we've had a conversation within our community a week ago about ChatGPT giving like significantly worse results than it was given before. So like the question is, how often the model that you built for your client might behave weird, and whether it's the case for all the models that data scientists are building, and how does that happen in general?
I would say typically, because historically most of our projects are done not with generative models, but say kind of traditional machine learning models that you build from scratch, etc. So, and actually, yeah, so this is the case, and typically the performance deterioration is coming from some shifts in the data that's coming in. So the model stays the same. It's like we train model from scratch for, let's say, some text classification, for some photos, whatever. And when we start working, we typically agree that those will be the cases. This will be the typical light of the photos. This will be typical angle of the camera. This is the set of the objects, environments, whatever we expect to be. And of course, we try to make it generalized as possible, etc. But, and then we have some test cases, typically when we test on, and we have an agreement. Typically it's working. But then maybe, the person who's the manager of the project is replaced, or the business is expanding to new clients, and then users, they upload new texts, new photos, and it's not what it's been trained on. And this is the very typical situation when you see when the performance is changing. And from our side, of course, they're kind of like classes like use like, what is the worst case scenario? Look, you made us a bad model. And this is why, again, we're coming back to the contract side, right? That's why as a consultants, we need to protect ourselves, right? So we said, okay, this is the testing scenario. This is the testing protocol. We agree that this is all the parameters that we fix that we expected. So again, it's like if you work together like in a startup, being employed, it would be like, this is shit, we need to fix it. But we were consultants, like, okay, this is what we agreed on. And of course, look, it's like our client already owns the pipeline, owns the cost. So of course we can recommend, look, it's like the issue is in the data, just collect more, label it, retrain it, you have the script. It's going to take you a week or a sprint. It's not a problem. And typically this is the case.
So basically to build it down to like to the core. So the employees themselves are uploading the corrupt data and that screws up the model, or like what's the process?
Not necessarily corrupt data. Imagine it's like with let's say some healthcare setup, and you take a photo of a person doing some exercises, and let's say it was done with some specific camera, with some specific lighting, and with some specific angle. And then you move, let's say this startup, they sign a contract with a gym and they put cameras in the gym from different angle. Now there is more people in the frame and they want to use the same algorithm to track exercise. Of course it fails because now there's more than one person in the frame, there's different angle, maybe to do different exercises. And it's like, we weren't planning for that. We built an algorithm that works in specific conditions with some generalization, of course, but we agreed on something. And you put it like completely different angle, different distance. Now there's more people in the frame. It's like we never agreed on that. Of course, it's gonna fail.
Yeah,
so this is
okay. So yeah, that makes sense. So basically, that's the violation of the terms of use, I'd say. So if you've agreed how that should be used, then it should be that way. Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, Ivan, Ahmad, if you will have any questions, please feel free to jump into the conversation. So, by the way, Ivan developed a really cool application that helps product managers with the AI algorithms. So, from what I know, you've already renamed the PM Wizard, right?
Yeah, I moved to supercharged work. Inspired by such apps as Superhuman or Superpowered, YC backed. Yeah, it was interesting. Like during the first 10 minutes, you were talking about like 10 to 15 to 12 people startups and corporates and the departments. And the last couple of months, I was completely in this indie hacker space, like 12 people startup, what the fuck, what a waste. I do everything myself. But yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry for interrupting. By the way, you're working in the Ukrainian company, right? Or like
it's a little Ukrainian outsourcing agency, right? I think we're all from Ukraine.
Yeah.
Born, yes. Yeah.
I love your website, and I love your positioning. Like these big outsourcing companies, I hate them because they are taking all the projects that they can take, and usually it's some kind of how to say it, well, legacy or some kind of boilerplate, very boring, very boring work. And basically, I live with this mindset. Like, I worked in Global Logic for like 8 months, and I feel it felt like I'm selling my soul to the devil, because like previously I worked like 7 years in little companies, agencies, and in a startup for 5 years. And I like much more this like product vibe, flexibility, agility. And I love like that you're saying that we don't do user interfaces, we don't do backend, we only take in like machine learning stuff. We can teach you, we can help you integrate it, but I love this like narrow focus. It's like almost like a product, basically. It's like outsourcing.
It's like a boutique. It's a boutique consulting. It's like we even don't plan to grow like to. We set up ourselves a cap limit like of maybe 150 people, and after we want to actually start building products ourselves. So basically, for us, it's like that's why we choose a focus, because we want to grow as a business, to have some cash flow to be able to reinvest into the products. But we don't want to be like thousands of people body shop. That's
it's a very good strategy, because during the consulting you can dive into the core problems that people have, and it's very easy, like for consulting companies to generate really good ideas for products and productize their services. But not every consulting agency like are doing it. Like most of the I know like lots of people in like media consulting, and they like can develop your content strategy, blah blah blah, and they know like they do like the same stuff for the same clients for like I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, but they are not productizing. But it's completely productizable if you just like have, I know, some tech guy who can say like, hey, just write an app for that. Like, what are you doing? What the fuck? Sorry, I know sometimes I'm out of the line.
We'll cut that out, I
Yes,
guess.
nice, like very inspired by what you're doing. And also like I see that I saw on your landing page it has like a credits for the landing page developers and all of this stuff. Well, it's not very clear, like it's like, it's very beautiful, but I don't know. First I scrolled it like, oh wow, nice images, but what the hell are they doing?
Man, that's a fair point. You know what?
What
We just released this. We just released the new website, and guess what? We're gonna remake it, because this is actually one of our mistakes. I think we made a really cool design and concept, whatever. But you're completely right. People visit our website like, what are you doing?
Fuck are you doing?
Yeah. So, fair point. We're gonna remake it. At least the messaging, we need to be more clear. That's for sure.
Yeah, just no, I think you can well, you can keep the design, but you just need to add more clear messages, like clear problems, clear like customer segments, so like they could
You're right.
How to say this,
Relate. Associate, relate.
relate to themselves, yeah. But it's I will just like it's Tweed. I will just browse their other works to just inspire it now and to steal some design decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But by the way, since we've been talking about the website and how it helps to attract the clients, one of the questions that I wanted to discuss is that so you've got plenty of really skillful AI professionals. So how do you manage to retain them within your company? Because that's probably a hard thing to achieve.
It's not a secret how we kind of structure internal work, so I'll just tell it right now. The point is that we have relatively unique value proposition for, let's say, broadly speaking, engineers, and it's not a fit for everyone, to be fair. So the point is that we work with most of the engineers on the per project basis and part-time. So what it gives to us, for us, it gives us as a business, we don't burn money on paying everyone's salary, even if they don't have project. What complexity it gives us, we need to be always looking for new people, because it's like they're contractors, freelancers. But what it gives to people who work with us, no pressure. It's like, you want a project, we can give it to you. You don't want a project, that's okay. Also it's like we have like no schedule of work. We work with people from Brazil to Indonesia. So it's like, for the engineer was the value proposition. You have a competitive compensation. You work when you want, almost how you want, from wherever you want. The only kind of like problem for you is it's a project based. But again, we are growing, so we have more projects. So with people who, let's say, they like work with us, we like work with them, we give them obviously more projects. So they work with us, let's say, already almost full time. And the more we grow, the more we can offer to people kind of this full-time opportunities. But some people don't want to. People say, look, I don't want more projects. I have my own stuff. I have a startup. I have a university. I have a job in a big company. I want to work with you 15 hours per week, and that's it. And you're like,
That
okay,
is
we
so
value
good,
that.
actually, because well, usually like it's like an outsourcing agency of a healthy man, you know, because like outsourcing agency of a smoker, you just like you're working on project, you finish project, they give you another project, they don't even ask you like, do you want to take it? Do you want, you know, you sit it on the bench, you give like you have this project, and it usually sucks like 80% of the time. It will be bad, but they will give it to you. Yeah, I love your model. It's like wow.
But it's
Impressive.
not for people who, let's say, really need some, stability and security, because we cannot promise you that we're going to pay you salary every month when you don't have a project. So this is like, let's say, the drawback. But for people who are like typically younger, who already have some other engagements, who have some free time, this is perfect. And typically, this is kind of our profile. We like working with the guys who have like 2-3 projects at the same time. So we are kind of one of their clients, and it's fair. We treat it the same. And for already almost 5 years, it's working for us. With some of the people, we already have like more like closer to the full-time engagements, but most of the, let's say, engineers of different levels work with us like this. And also for the client is,
So
sure.
I have a question about the age. Like, what's the average age of your developers? Because you mentioned like it's a nice work for young people. And in my experience, like working in startups, like I don't know, passionate 18 years old developer who like developed some, I don't know, some his own projects from like the school time, like from 14 years old, is the best candidate for the startup, because no, he's passionate, he will do everything he's interested in that, and he's creative, he can solve some interesting problems. And I also have like AI ML kind of project on my day job. It's related to Stable Diffusion. So we basically want to resurrect a series of paintings in the style of Renaissance painters. And we like using like lots of Stable Diffusion, lots of pre-processing, post-processing, training, and all that. And I realized like there are some like tech savvy very experienced developers, like 30 years old, who like understand this, but I realized that, well, they're not very like nice fit for this job. It's actually better to like take I don't know, one guy like 22 years old guy who has 3 years of experience in Python and 1 year of experience and experiments with Stable Diffusion, who will like try lots of hypotheses, who will like learn all he needs along the way, and just do repeat. What do you think about it? Like how many tech savvy like experienced developers do you have, and like how many young ones who like just
I think
learning?
by the young, I mean more like Western European definition of young, so somewhat closer to the 30 maybe. In Spain, when you're 30, you still live with your parents. So I mean, like that. But I think we have like guys, I would think the least someone has like 4 or 5 years of experience. So if someone started in the age of 19 or 20, I think we have people like maybe starting from around 25-ish to 45-ish. This is the range. So on average, 30 something. So it's like we rarely work with people who have less than, I think we don't work with people who have less than 3 years experience, because we require a lot of independence. And typically, especially if you're like starting and you work like as a company with a leader, with a mentor, there's the stage you need to go through before you get independent. And because again, imagine like a project, 5 people, everyone's a freelancer in different countries, in different time zones. And even like your leader, they don't have time really to babysit you. It's like the project leader is like to maybe to give you tasks, to mentor you, but not to babysit you. That's why, let's say the project leader has like 10, 15 years of experience, and let's say the individual contributor has, let's say, 5 years experience. This is a bit more healthy dynamics. Because again, everyone works remotely, different time zones, etc. So
I will probably launch my own agency, like with that insights. Now I know how to hire people for that.
No, we are not the only ones. They're actually in Europe. In Europe, there are more companies. There's in Germany, there's a company like this also doing AI and R&D. In Poland, so it's interesting. I didn't see such American companies. but I know several companies with the same model in Europe. So this is interesting.
Yeah, honestly, it sounds like a total nightmare to have the people on your team that you're relying on, and you are obliged by the legal agreements with your clients to deliver something on time. And at the same time, all of your employees have the sidekicks or day jobs or anything. So it sounds like a total hell, honestly. So
we have
you're-
really good recruitment. It's like, I think since we're in people business, our secret sauce is, let's say, good processes and judgment, I would say as well, about people we hire. And also, since we are small company and we plan to stay small company, it's easy to keep it kind of judgment wise. So I can imagine that I can be still in touch with, you have 100 engineers, I can hire 100 people. So I can apply my judgment because I was such a freelancer. So I kind of know what kind of people I need. Obviously, I cannot hire thousands of people, but 100, I still can do that. And I can teach maybe another head of AI to do it as well. So on the small scale, you can do this kind of things, but you cannot build EPAM, soft serve, global logic like that. I don't think so.
Yeah.
Who is your dealer? Who is your recruitment dealer? Like, is it Ginny? Be honest with us.
No, actually, we recently, especially last couple of years, we hire mainly like on the, let's say, on the Western market, Western European market. So we use LinkedIn a lot, and yeah, Genie is. We used it before, but when we started, basically.
I think why? Ukrainian developers are cheaper than European ones, or are there not enough expertise in Ukrainian market, or what? Or they are not capable to be like independent workers?
One thing is the principle, since we have several members, especially in the leadership, who come from the Western companies, Western environment. They don't want to work in monoculture environment. So some of our leadership partners say, guys, it's like, we want to work in the multicultural Western company. So this is what, first of all, we need to build. And second, the Ukrainian market is really good for traditional software engineering. And like in a lot of ratings on the skills, on the market, etc., Ukraine is in the top. But actually, if you look specifically at data science, it's not true. Even Belarus is higher than Ukraine in many data science ratings. I'm not talking about other Western countries. Actually, if you look at the Coursera report in data science skills, Spain is the first. It's like you wouldn't think so, right? But and actually on the price side, it's the difference is not that huge. I think Ukrainian market, especially before the war, was really spoiled with all this work with American companies. Many guys who we talk to from Ukraine ask more than people from Italy, from Spain, from Greece, from Romania, from Poland. So of course, if you talk to someone from London, from Stockholm, they ask more than guys from Ukraine. But if you compare like someone from Kiev and someone from Milan, someone from Madrid, someone from Athens, it's not necessarily the case. So, yeah.
Wow.
And very often you get guys from the better universities than in Ukraine. Often you get guys who already work in Google, in Microsoft, and companies like Glovo, BlaBlaCar, which you don't have in Ukraine as well. And they can ask relatively the same compensation. If it's, a little bit more, 10, 20%, we don't mind, because we know we get people who have very relevant experience and really good European education. I mean, if you count by the formal rating of universities, right? So this is what we're saying.
Yeah, I also think that's the case. Since I've been living in Czech Republic for a couple of years, and I've been kind of knowledgeable about how the salaries work in the Central Europe and like the Western Europe. So to say so, yeah, in some countries the salary is indeed higher, as well as the cost of living in that specific country. For example, like in Germany, I found the prices and the salaries accordingly like much higher than in Ukraine, for example, or in Czech Republic, or in some other like Central European countries. But at the same time, I truly understand that there is like no basis for some of the countries, like some of engineers from some of the countries to ask for that high price. Because like, for example, my wife is, she's like a IT recruiter, and right now she's hiring all across the globe. And from time to time, I'm asking her like, what are the rates? And yeah, like your take is extremely precise. People from Ukraine are like probably asking more than like the majority of people in other countries. So in terms of AI, by the way, what I noticed is that a lot of people are coming from Brazil, at least in our
Yeah,
in
we
our
have one guy
community.
from Brazil already. Yeah.
Yeah, at least in our community, what I've noticed is that like I'm asking people where they are from because like I'm curious about that, and almost every third person says that they are from Brazil. So I wonder whether Brazil will become like a massive AI hub in the future. So probably that might be the case, but yeah, I have no idea why the AI is so popular there. And by the way, Matt, the co-founder of this community, so he's like originally from the US, but he's living in Brazil right now, and his team is from Brazil as well. So they are developing a ton of cool, like exceptionally cool AI products, and like the whole team is from Brazil. So yeah, that's a really interesting trend there, I'd say.
There's also one point I want to add to the compensations. If you really work with senior people, what I see that across the globe, they're going to ask more or less for the same amount. If you say you have some exceptional guy who works 10 years with computer vision, doesn't matter whether you live in Kiev, Madrid, Sao Paulo, or in Jakarta, they're all going to ask you $100 per hour. And you can't say you live in Jakarta, I'm going to pay you less. So you live in Kiev, I'm going to pay. No, it's like if you're on the world level good, you're gonna, of course, if you like the same in California, you're gonna ask $500 per hour. In London, you're gonna ask $200 per hour. But if you take like Eastern Europe, Southern Europe, maybe Central Europe, Southern America, Asian, they're all gonna ask more or less the same range, around 100-ish per hour. So
yeah, that's probably the case.
I actually kind of like it. It's like it means like that probably after COVID, this market like very globalized because I think pre-COVID, like maybe 3-4 years ago, it wasn't the case. I think like still, I even like I remember I've read some like companies blog where they have like well they have like specific pricing like when they are negotiating salary they were like remote first, and when they were negotiating the salary they were seeing like which city, which region this person lived, and they saw like average salary for this position in this region, and they were considering that, well, it's not they're exactly their pricing, but they were considering it, and they were like saving lots of money because they were not hiring people from the capital cities.
We know why it
like
can work. It can work when you hire people who are not competitive on the global scale. It's like we all know Ukrainian markets. So we know there are guys who don't speak English really well. They cannot advertise themselves individually for the American companies, Western European companies. So actually they have to go to the Ukrainian company with Ukrainian manager who speaks English well, who know how to sell, to work for this company. And this is the reality, not only in Ukraine. It's like in Spain is the same, in Italy is the same, in Poland this is the same. And because if you can individually go and compete for the company in London and San Francisco, you're going to do that. And you're going to ask for your $100 per hour. But if you cannot, well, you're going to go for the local company, for the local manager who speaks English. And Ukraine and Spain and Jakarta and Brazil is the same in this case. Basically,
English
every country, every country but UK and US. And yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So,
and again, I think it's because of COVID, because still, like, even if you know English, it was like it still mattered that you know where you're located. Like, if you're well, not so many US companies were considering hiring people from like Europe or like Asia or whatever. And I think with COVID, where like everyone is remote, but like what's the difference? What's the matter? Like if you're still remote, like you're sitting in LA, New York, or in Krakow, I don't know. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and we are precisely on time. So yeah,
maybe guys, I would like to add maybe a couple of notes, because I think you want to talk about the governance, but actually we didn't talk about governance. To be fair, if you have 5 minutes more, I will maybe add some bullet points.
Yeah, sure.
So even I'll try to be really quick. So if you eventually going to build a company when you really need the AI department, you need to think about two things: strategy and tactics. And the strategy is classic things. Basically, you need to understand the mission of your department. So AI department, regardless, a big company, in a startup, and consulting, how do you empower other parts of the organization? And typically, you need to be really so. For example, we work in Coca-Cola, and the mission of the AI department is to improve the taste of Coca-Cola. I mean, but you know, if you have 50 data scientists working with you, everyone need to be aligned with the same vision and mission. Then you have basically your resources and kind of model of your department. So know that you have this kind of burn rate, this kind of costs, and there has to be some ROI. So you know that the result of your work is expected to be the following in terms of financials. This is basically the business model. And basically everything that I'm talking about, for example, in my department, I have like in a Notion table, everything is well structured. So I'm telling you one word, but it's the whole Notion page or Excel page, etc., etc. Then capabilities table. It's like if you have dozens of data scientists, you need to be able to have the grades, the capabilities matrix, like basically the leadership, the development plan. Because again, with 3 people, you can like, you're doing well, contributed good, yeah, here is your raise. With 50 people, you cannot do that. And again, this is and this strategic part, because it defines 4 years, because then people plan to work with you long term, you need to also tell them, look, if you want to work with us 5 years, this is what you potentially can get in 5 years. It's like, it doesn't mean you will go for that, you can just stay where you want, but this kind of roadmap, you can choose to follow or not to follow. And then of course, organizational structure. How do you combine, for example, it's like my role is director of engineering. It means I have head of something, head of cloud, head of AI, head of whatever. Then there are the tech leads, then there are the engineers. And again, basically there's some one-to-ones, reporting, etc., etc. So again, this is something what you need to have when you have dozens of people coming in. And this is strategic part. And this is something what you define for a year or more. And tactical part is something that you define typically for weeks, for a quarter, are the OKRs. And actually, it's not a trivial thing. How do you define the objective key result for your AI department? And what I mean here, and don't mistake it, is the OKR of your product, of your business, of your company. You need to really segment. It's like you have the engineers, of course, they care about the product, of course, they care about the business. But what is the objective exactly in terms of engineering?
A working model that passes all the tests, probably, because I have no idea whether it's possible to split the model into the pieces.
I'm not sure that you even need it, because well, let's imagine like I'm a CEO of corporation. I have like my business metrics. I have my like business KPIs, and I need to follow them. Well, and I think depending on the strategy of business KPIs, business metrics, business roadmap, and milestones, I think that will dictate the requirements to how like my department should evolve. I think it's all like have to be like from business roadmap, you know, like North Star. It's still like like my whole like strategy as a business. Then from that, like then like for sales to achieve like this like scale of, I don't know, 1 million clients in 10 years. Then like for sales, we need to do that. We need to optimize that. And for that,
and what is time for engineering then? For what is the goal for engineering? So, for example, the business OKR is to earn 100 million per year. It means that the sales department needs to generate 1 billion leads per year. What AI engineering department, all these 100 data scientists need to achieve to contribute to that goal?
I think before that,
and sorry, like and you have hundreds of data scientists working on different projects and different teams, and somehow they need to be united with a single goal that contributes to the goal of the company. So in this quarter,
actually, I worked in a consulting company before, and we were helping some like big corporate clients with digital transformation. And it was before AI hype, but like still like with lean digital, we call it lean digital. Basically, you can like, if you have industrial company, you can, even without AI, you can generate like some dashboards, some KPIs, some tracking, some blah, 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 to automate and to optimize lots of jobs. And we were creating some kind of product portfolio like inner product portfolio and I forgot how to well, basically product portfolio, like for example, but for just for our like manufacturers and factories, and then product portfolio that we can like share to our customers to like to the outside. And and this kind of like product office, it's I think it will be like kind of middleware. Like first you have like your big company strategy, then to achieve this product company strategy, you have like lots of different projects, lots of different products maybe develop, and then like this product office, product teams will have their requirements to the AI specialists. And usually it's all about agility, it's all about testing the hypothesis, it's all about like
but name me a specific OKR. You see, that's a complication, and that's why you see you're coming a bit from bottom-up perspective. But basically, what is the one single number OKR that exactly segmented AI department, let's say 100 data scientists, they're all working in different feature product teams. What is the one single OKR numerical target I can give them so department as general is moving in the right strategic direction? I can give an example. For example, objective can be like improve performance of all the models on the products you're working on by 5%. So this answer can unite everyone. So this can unite, regardless you're working on personalization, on churn prediction, on spam detection, whatever. It's like, again, this is not objective that we have, for example, but this is like an example of a numerical target you can set up for a quarter and ask about it.
Maybe like less bugs, more performance models, faster from time from like idea to a ready model. And that kind of stuff. Like it's basically Scrum, Kanban metrics, you know.
Yeah, just one second.
Combined precision.
Combined precision. And then there is another, the last part in the tactics, you have the OKR, which is like a North Star for this quarter. In these 3 months, let's say we're improving the accuracy. But also there are health indicators. There's something that I'm going to track, for example, every sprint that defines exactly, for example, what you guys are saying, like let's say time to merge the pull request or something like this. The health indicator, for example, how fast I'm moving, or, you know, so basically there is a North Star. There is the, let's say, big North Star. We as a company want to make a lot of money. In order to do this, the quarter North Star, we need to improve our AI models. And what I'm going to track every sprint, what are those numbers? Maybe the speed of pull requests, maybe number of experiments we did, maybe something else, maybe amount gigabytes of data we processed, whatever, right? So, and basically this is what I mean by the governance. Those high level things, the strategy and the tactics, you need to define, have a system, track, to align a lot of people in a segmented way. Because again, on the very high level, of course, we all want to make a lot of money, we want to make our clients happy, we want to be famous, etc., etc., etc. But then when it comes to the specifics, basically this is what is called governance, strategy and tactics that you define, and you need to align with the middle management and with the engineers to work on that. And basically, Max, when you ask me basically what I'm working on, I work on the governance on the whole company, governance on the AI department, and on the business development. So coming back to our Telegram discussion, this is my work now. Yeah.
That's, like you've made everything a bit simpler, but much more complicated at the same time, honestly, because like if we will drill into all those areas, that I guess would be a ton of fun. So yeah, talking about that North Star, like in my opinion, that probably is like the combined precision of all the models. So for example, like it should be above 95% or something like this. So, or I've missed when you've answered that question.
I think it could be, again, I don't, depending on your product suite, again, because for example, in our case, I cannot ask from all the projects to have this precision, because actually in some projects it's enough to have 70%. In financial applications, if you do 1% better than average, it's already, you know, crazy good. So that's why I can give you a hint. For example, in our company recently focused a lot on the speed. So a lot of our targets, and not only in AI engineering, and health indicators are defined to be able to see how fast we are moving and improve the speed. But again, this is what we focus on recently, because we see we need that. We need to move faster. So we kind of
that's the whole
tracking
agile
that.
transformation thing, actually, because it's what everyone is doing. Because we used to like develop and even like big companies still like thinking about this, like big project committee, project roadmap, project approval, like 6 months, 1 year. But most of the big companies actually still has like yearly budget. So if you want to like I don't know, test product hypothesis, like client product hypothesis, or like maybe make a little internal tool that will take like, I know, 3 months, 6 months.
Yeah,
It's very hard to like receive a budget for that. And the whole like industry of big companies is moving like to like this is like the whole like agile less thing, like product teams, small teams, sprints, like fast iteration, optimization of processes from this like vertical stuff. When you have like financial department, then you have security department, then you have legal department, and they have their own like policies. And if you want to basically to launch a product, you need like the coordination of them all. You need like the team that will have like and basically all the big companies right now, they are trying to like reformat their structure and reformat their policies that each of their like these functional departments have. Yep. To let like product teams launch and iterate faster. And because otherwise some startup will just launch, and while you will develop in your super duper product with all data that you have and all the users that you have, it will take 3 years. Like first year some kind of startup will launch, second year he will get traction, and the third year he will kill you. And that's why they're all just trying to like, basically all the big companies right now are becoming product accelerators. It's like because they have resources, and basically to stay competitive with like startups, they need to launch these startups themselves. They need to disrupt themselves, or like they'll be disrupted by like some other startups. So basically that's all, like all the big companies are doing that. All the big companies, like first all the big companies were launching the IT departments, then they were launching the product departments, and right now they will launch like AI departments to like make better products with AI. Yeah, that's basically what's going on in the market.
Yeah, honestly, I have no more ideas regarding the North Star KPI OKR. Sorry, so
man, this is hard. We are literally, I think we're now 5th year of the company. I think only now we kind of learn how to do it, because this is really not easy. And we have like the whole leadership meetings to align on the OKRs. And that's how we started. Now, for example, where you can get with the team, everyone gives their own options. We have the voting system, and we align on them. So, but this is not what everyone does. And yes, it sounds easy. It's like, let's all work on improving the accuracy. But the point is, when you have like dozens of people in the department, and you align, everyone has to be clear, etc. Aligned also with the business goal. Basically, this is governance. This is like it's a job. So
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's management. It's management of big companies. It's kind of good that you. Well, I work as a solo founder, solo developer, and I'm kind of glad. But actually, you make me wondering. Like, you make me thinking about actually. Well, maybe I want a big company, or do I?
Man, I have OKRs for my personal life. I mean, they're not maybe like that formal, but God. I structure my life as departments. I have department of. I mean, I don't call it departments, but the logic is similar. Department. Oh,
that's actually that's normal
of
practice. Like. Yeah, health, relationships, family, work, hobbies. Yeah, it's like a circle. It's like a known technique.
And then you have quarterly OKRs for each and health indicators. And actually, it helps. I mean, it's important not to get really crazy about some things, like to start measuring what is your health indicator in your relationship with your romantic partner. But to think about it, it's a good practice.
Yeah. So. like when you mentioned that I've got a couple bullet points, my first thought was, okay, that sounds cool. I will cut that like out of the video, make it like 40 seconds long video preview, and we'll upload it to the social media. But right now I have no idea how to squeeze 15 minutes of discussion into that.
You can use AI.
Yeah,
you can
probably
use a whisper to transcribe the text, or there are these apps like that turn long videos into TikToks, you know, the short ones. So you can do that.
Yeah, like, but the case is that we've had like a pretty insightful and really long conversation, so there, like, it's not really possible to cut a valuable part of that, because this is like a thought process. So yeah, probably I will cut out this 15 minutes of discussion, and yeah, the whole like the full video will be available hopefully, if the recording will go through. So yeah, do you have any more insights to share with us?
Let me see, what were the questions? To go
I think we
sources,
need some kind of sorry, I think we need some kind of AI product Hive Ukraine channel, and you know, to organize offline events.
Yeah, ideally ideally it would be cool to have the like the sub communities split by countries, so that would be really cool to have, but that will simultaneously decrease the engagement, because people will be splitting into like separate subgroups, and like other folks might miss on some of the activities. So yeah, that's a good idea actually. So, but yeah, we'll see how that goes over time. Who knows? So I'll keep that in mind. Yeah, by the way, judging by the questions, like I'm pretty sure you've answered some of them during the call. So if you've got something to add, probably like you can drop a couple lines into the chat, so that we will keep the call.
I'll just better answer right now really quickly. So the easier to speak than to write. So the question number 3 in your list about like projects in different domains, the answer is that we are, first of all, engineering service company, but on every project we have a person who understands domain really well. And actually this is the part where coming like why we hire part-time people, because we need a person who worked with the ships for at least 5 years. Most probably this person is going to be really busy, and we need this person just for half a year. So actually our business model allows us to contract this kind of people. So this is basically the answer. Always there is someone who understands the domain. About the department structure, I mean, I think it was more important not the structure, but kind of like having all those strategy and tactics pieces. And the structure is more like the answer to that. So if this is your goals, this is your OKRs, this is your KPIs, this is your capabilities, the structure is the answer. I would say our structure is relatively traditional. We have myself as a director of the department, then we have heads of different, like head of AI, head of cloud, and then they have technical leaders and the engineers. It's very traditional. I don't know if this is the best structure, but it's very traditional one. Number 1, I think you already discussed. Number 4, we already discussed. Number 5, how do you measure success of impact of your projects for your client? Typically, we define some proxy metrics, because it's really hard to negotiate with the client. It's hard to agree that someone's going to tell you, okay, the KPI of the project is going to save us $77 million over 5 years. No one's really going to tell you that. But you can get a proxy metric. For example, you have a department of 50 people, we'll reduce it to 10 people. Or right now you process one document in 2 weeks, we're going to reduce it to 2 days. Yeah, as an end result, it will end in some financial savings or results. But we don't really, I mean, it's hard to agree on that. Also, a lot of companies are not going to tell this directly to consultants, but with some proxy metric like save time on that, save resources on that. Basically, this is how we measure it. Or yeah, basically proxy metrics. This is very typical thing.
Okay. Yeah, that answers the question. So yeah, thanks for that. So yeah, I guess we can wrap up the call. Alex, thank you very much for all the insights. It was like extremely packed call. Honestly, I have not expected it to be like such a cool call. So to have all those insights, because right now it feels like I'm able to run my AI company myself. It's a shame I don't have the skills, but yeah, if anything, yeah,
it counts as practice. You think when I started, I had the skills. Basically, I never worked in a formal. Actually, I never had like an example of like a leader. So I had to learn the hard way. And when I started Neuron Style, I was really bad in all these things. I had feedback from my more experienced partners, like, dude, if you proceed like this, you're not gonna work with us. So I had to learn the hard way.
That's what probably all the leaders will say you. I done everything myself. I made lots of mistakes, and yeah, you will do. You can tell everybody about your mistakes. Like they still will do it because it's just you can't learn stuff without practice. Yeah, without failing.
And without failing.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so thank you, Alex, for joining the call and telling those cool insights to us. So Ivan, thanks for participating. Ahmad, I can see that you're here virtually.
I think it's bot. I think it's not Ahmad. I think it's bot.
Yeah, it's his bot for taking notes as well. So yeah,
it's so kind of you. Like you appreciate the. It's like in case of AI invasion and expansion, they will remember that you treat them well. Like
yes, exactly. That's the case. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for this call, and hope to see you sometime soon. So yeah, take care and.
Max, thank you for inviting. Ivan, nice to meet you. Ahmad, nice to meet your bot.
Awesome. Okay, have a great rest of your day, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.